Oh, there we go. We're recording.
Gee,
I heard
I don't.
that. I heard that. Recording in progress. So it
I
let you
just
know.
did the girl thing. I just kept pressing it aggressively until
But yeah, what do you do? What do you do about a situation like this where like what do you do but laugh? It's so crazy. And it
I
sounds
mean,
so crazy.
it's good you're calling it out because nobody's paying attention to this right now.
Oh, I'm getting hammered, getting attacked. But in my DMs, I'm getting lots of people that are like, "Thank you for doing this, Clyde." You know, everyone else that does it just gets attacked. And I'm like, I'll take it. I'm a big boy. These
Yeah,
guys,
no, we
they're
have to.
they're
Yeah.
all just like every threat is just an empty threat. Dude, they threatened my wife and me. Jeremy McKenzie. I'm not even fucking kidding.
So
I even
is
share the clip with you. It's
even Jeremy, is
crazy.
he going this way?
He's going this way. Like I
Shit.
said, there was a clip of Jeremy McKenzie talking about one of the guys, one of the Nazis at the Nuremberg trial, how it was a kangaroo court, and they just wanted to kill him, and it wasn't. They didn't even like try him, and it wasn't fair, and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
I mean,
It sounds fantastical, like I'm like it sounds like something that would be made up, but I'm like fuck. Well, all you gotta do is look at it. It's crazy.
I imagine after everything that he's gone through that something has snapped.
Well, okay, and that was his threat against me because I said that in my stream. I was like, I feel sorry for some of these guys that are veterans they've lost it,
Yeah.
but they have PTSD and they need therapy. They need help.
Yeah.
But what are they doing? They're going into these echo chambers and they're getting people to foment about this stuff. Here, I'll show you the clip. Bear with me for just 1 second. You'll be able to see it if I do. This, you should be able to see the clip.
I can't hear them though. I can see them.
Oh, you can't hear it. You're not hearing it. Hold on. Why are you not hearing it? I'm not sending you the right audio. Let me just fix that really quick here. Okay, I'm being recorded. Yeah, okay. Where's my audio source? I think I should be sending you cable D. Sorry, I have very, very complicated audio setup on my computer. It's so stupid. Uh, um, where are we? Cable A, cable C, cable B, cable D. You hear me okay? You still hear me?
Yep. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Okay, you should be hearing this now.
Nope. Darn. Nope, nothing. Nope, sorry. Can't hear.
Oh, you can't hear it.
No,
You still
I
can't
can't.
hear it. Shit.
No.
Oh, okay. Now I'm not hearing you. Why am I not hearing you? That's crazy. What the hell did I do? Oh no. I fucked up my shit. Hold on a second. Let me fix this. uh okay, cancel that. No. Should be select a speaker. Oh, that's why it fucked up. I should be sending this out to I should be going default. Oh, how did I mess that up for me? Oh, that is so dumb. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, of course you're hearing me.
Yeah.
While I'm fixing that, here now you should be able to hear the audio of this. This is my fault. Sorry about that.
As a channel, I was like, I don't care, don't.
I'm paraphrasing here, but they most certainly insinuated that Jeremy is just a traumatized soldier who needs counseling, and that's what the point is
Oh,
here. Is the
oh,
overall
really?
PTSD.
Now I am gonna beat the shit out of him in front of his wife. And when she's going to want to fuck me after doing it, I'm going to say, no, you're gross. Go away.
Um,
Disgusting. What a little bitch. You'd never fucking say anything like that to my face.
again, I'm paraphrasing, so he probably.
No, somebody else just told me this. Dude, you fucking
probably
better
would-
leave in a hurry. Leave this country fast. This is my country. Goodbye,
he
Clyde.
probably would-
Wow. Okay, now I gotta fix my audio so I can hear you. Give me one sec.
Oh my God.
I think this maybe you're good. Can you? Okay, I can hear you.
These guys
Yeah,
are
that's
on him.
nuts, right?
I mean, he talked about raping Pierre Poilievre's wife.
Yeah, and now he's talking about beating me up, and then when my wife wants to fuck him, that he will say no, ew, gross. Yeah, like that's it's fucked. It's absolutely fucked. Anyway,
Should we talk about this today? Because I mean,
we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. This
then
is all fresh in
Jeremy
my mind.
McKenzie
It's
comes
crazy.
after me too. I live
Holy
on an
cow.
island. He'll never find me.
He lives in Nova Scotia and he's going nowhere. He can't leave. He's like all of his threats are just empty threats. They're like I hope you won't publish this, but he's like he's a sad little man. Like he's a sad little man. He's hurt. He fought in the military and you know, his behavior has ostracized him from everybody. And this is how you get extremism, right? You get extremism from people being hurt and then fomenting their hatred within their own community of people that are also hurt and fomenting, right?
I mean, this is actually an interesting conversation. I mean, there's so many things that we can talk about, but this is what happens also when people aren't heard in a rational way too. You
Yeah.
create monsters, and this is a disinformation conference, and that's kind of part of it. Like we kind of have to hold everybody to higher standards. People in this community, the liberals, like everybody.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
this is pretty open-ended. This is going to be an interview about you, your story, you starting this channel, and then we will lead into what you're going to speak about at the Reclaiming Canada conference. And then at the very end, I'll just get like a quick, like 60-second soundbite from you as well. But what floats your bloat? What floats your boat?
What's the
Clyde?
bloaty? What's the bloaty float? What floats my boat?
Yeah.
Life floats my boat. I love life. I'm so ecstatic about life, and I'm ecstatic about everything within it. You know, I love my family. I love my kids. My wife is beautiful and fantastic to me. I'm fantastic right back. Like this is life. This is life for a lot of people. And you know what? Like you gotta make ends meet. And in order to do that, you need to make a living. And I found a great career in auto mechanics. It was my calling, I guess. You know, I've done so many different things for a living throughout the years. And I got into auto mechanics. It's so fulfilling. It feels great when you fix a car that's broken. You know, I got a leg up on doctors, I'll tell you this. Because when a doctor diagnoses something, they give you an ointment or whatever, and then you walk away and they're like, I hope it did it. You know, I get the immediate response of a car that runs and is fixed every time. It's so rewarding. And these are the things that drive me. And, you know, getting into political commentary, it feels a lot the same, but it could be a bit more like the doctor too. You know,
Yeah.
you try to bring things in, you see systems, you see things that are broken and you want to fix them. And so it's all about the diagnosis. It's about looking at the situation and seeing where it is you are, what happened, what caused the ailment. Are we just you know, medicating symptoms, or are we actually getting to the root of the issues? These are the things that I'm really enthralled about and excited about.
Cool. I love it. Well, let's just see where this goes, but we'll start there. I'm gonna do like a long, awkward pause here, just so I know where to clip this. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
sure.
we'll just start with you, how you got started. You, I'll let you take the wheel if you want to talk about Diagolon and Jeremy McKenzie here.
Well, if that comes up, it comes up. We'll get into it and just roll with it. I'm pretty good at just like spitting off the cuff, as you will, and just go where it flows, right?
Yeah, cool. Me too. And you're uncensored, so you can talk about whatever you want.
Oh, is this what on Rumble or something like that?
Well, it depends on what you talk about today. It'll be marked safe or unsafe to my team.
Everything I talk about is safe on YouTube. I stay away, like I don't stay away from topics. I'm just very good at dancing around things that you're not supposed to say or, things like that. So,
Okay. Okay, cool.
and I don't swear.
Okay.
I try not to do that.
Okay. Long, awkward pause. Here we go. All right, everyone, welcome to the Sovereign CEO podcast. I have with me Clyde Do Something. Clyde, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you bringing me on.
It's nice to have you here. So we hung out in person for the first time at the Tucker Carlson event. That was a good time. That lit something up in me.
I really enjoyed it. It was the first time I really got a chance to come out and meet a bunch of other influencers, people in in real life, that kind of thing. I mean, I've met a few other, but not at a big conference like that. And then to just see how, energized everybody was really fantastic. So it was a great opportunity. I'm looking forward to this conference in June and many more like it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that was funny. There was a lot of us that just lived in like the internet world meeting in person. Like, oh, you guys are real. I kind of knew you were real, but especially all the Twitter folks, because a lot of them it's not even like a photo. So I only know like their political commentary. So it was funny to put like a face to a name or a political stance.
Right, or it's not even their name. It's just like a pseudonym and an avatar. Yeah, no, it's interesting when you get to meet these people and people with great opinions too, as well. Like and differing opinions. That's what I like about a lot of these kinds of conferences. People are open to suggesting things that maybe some people are even uncomfortable with. And it's great. It's great to engage in that kind of thing. And get away from echo chambers like we see in the media or on the left, especially. It's crazy. Yeah, people on the left getting ostracized. Hey, come on over, come on over. You guys seem like centrists, We'll welcome you in. We just, may not agree with everything you have to say, but hey, come on over. Let's discuss things.
Yeah, I can accept a centrist, no problem. I gotta say, I'm new to Twitter. I have a hard time over there, and maybe because the algorithm hasn't been adjusted to me, so I only see like the most inflammatory opinions from the left. I don't see any of the centrists, so every time I go on there, I just get mad and disappear.
Well, you get a lot more of what you engage with. So if you comment on things, you'll get more of that, and that's what'll pop up in your thread. So if you see a lot of people's bad opinions, and then you're quick to comment on their bad opinions, that's what you'll get a lot more of. And when you play Twitter like that, I find like I've always likened it. I call it the hyperbolic chamber, right? It's exactly what it is. People don't go on there to be themselves. They're in road rage mode. They're like behind the wheel of a car. They're not engaging with other human beings like they would. I liken it often to having a long intellectual conversation with a chihuahua behind a chain link fence. It really comes down to that. You're not getting anywhere with it, but sometimes it proves a really good exercise to see how far people will go and how can you take what they're saying and just give it a showcase? I mean, Libs of TikTok is great for that. Libs of TikTok is one Twitter user that all they do is grab stuff from TikTok, people saying the things that they believe in, and just showcasing it to a different audience altogether and saying, look, this is what these people believe in. Have a look at it. It's crazy.
hmm Yeah, I think the work is being able to stay emotionally neutral somehow. I have some friends that are very, very good at it, and then Twitter can be good fun if you don't get emotionally rattled by it. But
Mhm.
that's a skill that not many people have.
My recommendation is to just, behave online like you would in person. Like
Mm.
say the things that you would say. Don't go crazy and throw accusations or insults at people. Like hurling insults is like the worst.
Mhm.
Just say like, okay, these are my opinions. This is what I see. You know, call things out like you would in real life.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's a good approach for sure. So let's backtrack a little bit. So for my audience, you guys might already watch Clyde's channel. He is a YouTuber. You're a mechanic. You're a political commentator. What else do the people need to know about Clyde?
Oh, what is there to talk about me? I'm a I'm a political commentator on the internet, but before I was any of that, I was just a guy, a mechanic. I got into auto mechanics because I like fixing things. A lot of that kind of comes back to what we're talking about with political theory and all of this stuff. But I got into it, and actually, I want to encourage more people to look into the trades. If anybody's watching this, maybe you're young and you don't know what kind of career to get into, consider the trades. Really do consider the trades. It's a rewarding type of practice that you can get into that is jobs are immediately abundant. I mean, you got the pick of the litter when it comes to jobs, especially here in Canada right now. Get out there, get a trade. If they pay well, it's rewarding. It's absolutely rewarding. When I go to work, I even get a leg up from what doctors do get. Like when they diagnose something, they're often, you know, give somebody an ointment, and, I hope it worked. You might not even hear back from the guy. I get an immediate response. When I fix a car, it was broken when it came in. It may be complicated. I might have to do a whole diagnostic procedure. And then when I fix it, it's like immediate. Like I have this reward. It's a very rewarding career. It's great. It pays well. Recommend people do that. And I'm not about to quit my day job for any of this YouTube stuff either. Like YouTube's great, but it's great as a secondary thing in your life. I'm doing this as that. Um, despite me loving it so much, I like to go back to work and touch grass to get grounded a little bit, and that's what helps me there. But onto political commentary, this all sort of came out of the Freedom Convoy. I've been doing YouTube content for a bunch of years, DIY content. I did some commentary and stuff with some other people before. Um, but then I got into I was kind of in between things to do when the convoy happened, and I was watching CTV and CBC and all these broadcasters talking about something that I was actively watching on the internet and live streams, and then seeing what their portrayal of it was. I was calling people that I knew that were involved in it, and then I was looking at the portrayal of it, and I went, "This doesn't compute." We just came out of an election with, Donald Trump. They said all this stuff that wasn't true about him. Like him or not, a lot of the stuff they said about him wasn't true, right?
Russiagate.
Watch this. Yeah, we watched the media lie about this stuff. We watched the media lie. I was a big fan of Ron Paul even before Trump and all of this stuff. I'm a dual citizen, by the way, for people who don't know. I do follow both Canadian and American politics, but I mostly comment on Canadian stuff. But I watched what they did to Ron Paul. He's such a nice guy, and he's been working so hard to just educate people on the gold standard, on monetary policy, on economics, and where the United States was going, and the Western world for that matter. And they just slandered the guy, and it was crazy to watch this all happen. And then when I saw it happening on our own turf to my brethren in the trades, right? We're talking mechanics, truck drivers, all these guys were going out to Ottawa to say enough is enough after this crazy pandemic, and people doing, in government, just leave it to the experts and, hands off. We're just gonna, put you under lockdown, and just gradually worse and worse and worse and worse. I just said enough is enough. These guys are standing up. What am I doing? I'm standing here. I don't have a truck. I can't go there, but I have a camera, and I had a really good computer setup, and I have all this like film equipment. Why don't I just start talking about it? And that's what I did. I just started talking about it. I didn't think anybody was going to watch. I'm not going to lie. I really did it so that I wouldn't feel guilty in the future that this amazing thing was happening in Canada. And I just sat there and watched it from afar and did nothing, right? Everybody was doing things to contribute. They were donating, they were doing other things. I had this, and I just went, I'm getting involved. I don't care. I told my boss, I said, hey, I'm going to tell my political opinion on the internet. He said, go for it. Who cares? I said, well, I'll just in case, people might get angry. He said, what are they gonna call? You know who answers the phone? Awesome. So blessing from my boss to be a political commentator on the internet and say my thing. And that's what I did. And I've been doing it since. I haven't stopped. It's just been great. And the community's fantastic. The people out there are fantastic. And I just love the support. And I know there's a lot of people that are just disparaged and they feel really down on what's happening in the Western world and down on what's happening in Canada. But just look at these communities that gather, these people that get together, the hope, the ability to change things is within our grasp. We can do this. And that's why I keep doing it. I want to be a louder voice than anybody out there that's handing out black pills and despair. I'm not a despair peddler. I'm a peddler of hope and the ability to bring back liberty to the Western world. And this is what we're gonna do.
Hmm, I'm the same. I mean, people are like, "Oh, it's never been so crazy." I'm like, "What, you wanted to live through the plague? Medieval times? The Bible?" It's always been like really chaotic. We just know about it all because of the internet now. It's interesting
Mhm.
you're highlighting like blue collar work because I would say like I live in a blue collar town, small town, husband's a carpenter, and it seems like I don't like to generalize, but the people that are farmers, contractor, people that grow food, understand energy, are entrepreneurs themselves that really understand like basic need things or like this is how this works, food, energy, they saw this stuff as clear as day. It's the people that have elitist jobs or that work in an office for the government. Like they're just so disconnected from
Mhm.
the workings. Like when you think of something like climate change policy, for example, all the rich people in Ottawa are like, well, just buy a $40,000 Tesla. Man who drives a $3,000 Honda, just don't be poor.
Just don't be poor. But a lot of these guys, like they're actually doing stuff too. Like the government implements changes. So here in British Columbia, the government says, well, you're using all the water in the rivers and you can't pull the water from the rivers. These farmers know they're not doing that. This happens every year. The rivers get really dry towards the end of the season. It's not because they're putting water on their fields, but nonetheless, because Canadians, they do it, they comply a lot of times, and they just go, okay, well, I'll just do what I got to do. And so they spent thousands and thousands of dollars, like in the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, to get well water from these aquifers that are way deep below ground that affect none of the snowpack, none of the rivers, none of this stuff. And the government still comes out and says we're shutting you down. And this is where it becomes illogical. And the blue collar types, the farmers, the mechanics, the truck drivers, they're all looking at it like, wait a second, we're doing the thing, we're diagnosing the issue, and then when we do the things that are supposed to be done in order to fix the thing that you say is the problem, you come down on us anyway. What's really the issue here? What's really the issue? And that's where people are going, wait a second, no. Yeah, buying your Tesla is not going to do anything but just offset where the energy comes from. You're still going to have to dam up rivers and make lakes. You're still going to have to fire up coal plants. In Alberta, when they tear down all the coal plants, and then they have shortages. What do? They get electricity from Montana that's burning coal. It's ludicrous. And most people that understand how these systems work, they look at it like this is dumb. We need better leadership. We need people who actually see what's happening. I'm a big fan of the environment. Like I'm actually a huge fan of the environment. I don't necessarily buy into what all these um, radical thinkers that think that the sky's falling tomorrow believe, but I do think that we should clean up our act in a lot of ways. And this is why I've been emphasizing this, especially on my channel, saying that, these people are environmental when it comes to this catastrophic anthropogenic global warming thing. No, there are problems, but we have an ecological solution with technologies that we have to clean up clean up our waterways, clean up the air, clean up all these things, and see some real solutions instead of just cutting off Canadians from utilizing technology and shipping it over to China, where they're just going to burn it all anyway over the next 60 years. What is it, 2060 before they even have to start complying with any of this stuff? This is where a lot of people look at it and they go, I think else is at play. I don't think this is about the environment. I think this is about a political agenda.
I mean, we would get there if the media did its job, or we would get there if conversations were allowed. But, you know, you just saying what you said in any moderate circle would get you immediately labeled as a climate denier. That's where
Right.
we're at. And the majority of the population doesn't ask any further questions to what they're being told at all. So like the Tesla people, yeah, you just get an electric car. Okay. Where does the electricity come from to plug your electric car in? Did you not ask that second question?
Where does the lithium come from? Where does the
Yeah,
cobalt come from? Where are all the elements that come from to build these cars? And not only that, how long does a battery last? Now, like there are good solutions, and I'm not saying that electric is not a good solution.
part
Again,
of it.
right here in British Columbia, there's Edison Motors, and they're doing a bang up job of bringing about diesel electric hybrids. And I've been saying this for years because like I really think that these electric motors that are being put in cars are fantastic. We're talking 98% efficient for their ability to take potential energy and turn it into kinetic or motion energy, right? Now, liquid fuels are not that great at that. They're at best 40% efficient. Like that's the ballpark. They produce
Mhm.
a tremendous amount of heat, but they're the most potable. You can move liquid fuels around a lot easier than you can move electricity around or store electricity. So this is why there's still a more viable source of fuel is to use these liquid fuels or even hydrogen, maybe even in the future. But like, there's intern things that we can do. Electric hybrids are such a great idea. And Edison Motors, they're right out of British Columbia. They're converting old decommissioned trucks into diesel electric hybrid trucks that are perfectly functional,
Mhm.
and they have a higher efficiency than even what they originally were or what even some of these new trucks that are hitting the market are, and they don't have all the problems with battery storage that the Tesla trucks have. And I'm not dogging on Tesla. I'm just saying let's move forward with good technologies. Diesel electric's been used in locomotives forever. Why don't we use it in more things, even down to your little sedan that you could just get way better gas mileage out of? People wouldn't complain about just getting better gas mileage.
Yeah. I think what concerns me is that the rules are being made by people disconnected from the process in big cities for the majority of people who are living in big cities. Most of the votes are being like the cities have way more weight in our elections, yet we need the trucks to go cross country. So, like, I live in a rural community, for example, we have a construction company, and I get nervous when I see all the electric stuff because we have bush planes, boats, giant trucks. None of these things are going to be run on electric anytime soon. Like, I would be hardcore virtue signaling if I got a Tesla and then I come home to my house where you can see it, I have like a gas tank at my house.
No, it's
Uh,
great because like so these technologies that could come along over a long period of time, but what we're doing is virtue signaling. It really is not helping anything. So, for example, here's a great one. So, Vancouver got the bid for the Olympics in 2010, was it? And Whistler was one of the big venues for it. So, to show off how progressive they were in Whistler, they switched all of their buses to hydrogen. So, hydrogen buses, they run on, you know, liquid hydrogen fuel. But there's nowhere that you could get hydrogen fuel anywhere close to Whistler. What they don't tell you is that the nearest facility is in Quebec, and that's where they bottle the hydrogen fuel, and then they ship it on diesel trucks over an entire continent from Quebec to Whistler, British Columbia, and then they empty those and then drive back empty. Like that's the virtue signal. It's
you know what
all done
I
by diesel.
You know what else I love about I lived in Whistler for 15 years, my husband for 25. So we were there during the Olympics too. They also spent millions upon millions of dollars to switch all of the signs to you have to pardon me, which First Nation language, but they put Nation language on every single sign up to Whistler. They built a huge $1 billion First Nations facility. There were never First Nation groups in Whistler. That land was
No.
inhospitable. That's not historical. There were no people there back then, and they were doing the whole land acknowledgement thing. And I'm like, no, 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 that didn't even happen in the zone. They were where it was warmer and drier and where you could actually farm. Nobody was in the coast mountains.
Well, apparently, I think it's Alta Lake. I can't. It might be Alta Lake or one of the lakes in Whistler that it drains out at both ends. It's fed by an aquifer, but like the indigenous people at the time didn't know that, so they just like, whoa, that's bad juju, and they took off and they didn't live there,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and that was the thing. So yeah, there's no history of indigenous peoples that settled in Whistler, but yeah, no, it got claimed. It got claimed with this whole thing. I mean, as every one of these things happens, everybody's got a stake, a claim for grievances. We live in a grievance culture today, and
Victim culture.
it it's absurd. It's absurd, and you know it extends all the way, and it gets so ridiculous. I mean, there's no end to it. There's no end to it. I I don't care personally. Like if people want to cry bully other people, I just don't acknowledge it. I just don't acknowledge when people cry bully because that's what that is. It's you're being a bully by going up to people and saying you owe me something because I'm a victim. No, I didn't victimize you, and if
Mm-hmm.
you had some personal claim that I did something wrong, well then that's fine. I'm not going to acknowledge some grandiose claim to why because of nothing. There's nothing that anyone has on me unless you try to label me in some sort of group. I don't believe in group dynamics. I don't like the concept of collectivism. I don't like the concept of collective guilt or collective ownership, anything like that. And those are both really bad things. Collective guilt and collective ownership are bad things. You might remember there's a bunch of guys. They were led by one guy. He had a funny mustache, and they all thought that they collectively had rights to the earth. Yeah, that was pretty bad. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to steer clear of that sort of concept. It's not just the communists that were collectivists.
Mm-hmm.
There was all kinds of different versions of collectivism. I'm and what's funny is the social justice warriors, they especially with all this like gender ideology stuff, they like to. I know I'm kind of all over the place right now, but I am going to get to a point the gender ideology thing it makes me laugh the most because it's kind of the end of the line for people to make separate little groups, and it's great because what it means is a lot of people don't want to be part of a larger group, especially kids growing up. They learn that, oh, I'm a bad person if I'm part of like the majority group, but I'll be a good person if I'm part of some minority, even if I have to make it up for myself, right? And just invent some new gender or whatever that doesn't exist. And then they're now the victim and they can be treated like all the other victims. What I like to look at it is like this is the right direction. Thank you for going in this direction because all you have to do is make the next final step where everybody's an individual and everybody should be respected under the law. Because that's what I ultimately believe in.
Mm.
Everybody is an individual and everybody should be respected. Like you're not entitled to respect, but the law is deserving, or you are deserving of being treated equally under the law. And that's
Yep.
that's where we should be.
I mean, I don't like what's happening to innocent kids in terms of the gender thing, but what I do love about the gender thing is it's the final straw that woke a lot of people up. They went way too far into unicorn land. They're actually hurting children. So that thing alone is going to it's going to wake up a lot of people. And just like you
Mhm.
said, like I don't participate in those things. That's what we do. My kids are still in school. They don't participate in those things. So when they announce that everyone's going to use their pronouns, my kids know, no, we don't do that. We don't believe in this make believe system.
Well, and it's really it's a bastardization of language, and it's a confusion that people have. Um, like people have sexes. This is the thing that people don't understand. We used to say it used to say sex on your driver's license. It used to say sex on forms that you have to fill out for doctors and whatnot. It never said gender. Gender is this confusing thing that people don't understand. And gender is a construct. It's a linguistic construct. And in the English language, we actually have four genders, not two. There are four genders. There's masculine, not male, masculine, feminine, not female. Those are female and male are sexes. Masculine and feminine are ways of describing things that in their physical form are male or female. This is how we describe things. There's also two other genders, indeterminate and neuter. So indeterminate would be a word like dog. You don't know if the dog is a boy dog or a girl dog. You just know it's a dog. It's
Mhm.
indeterminate, right? That word it has a gender construct to it. The word boy has a gender construct. It's a masculine name for a young adult male. And the actual physical person has a sex, and that's the way it works. Neuter is just how we describe things because we're not romantic languages that give gender to inanimate objects. A pen, a table, a chair, these things don't have genders, so we don't assume that they have them. That's the gender that we assign it, neuter, in the English language. Other
Mhm.
languages work differently. This is why when these cultural Marxists try to jump into other languages, they have to really, really adapt it and come up with a new way of defining it because it doesn't work. It doesn't work like it does in English. But yes, people don't have genders. The way you describe them, those words will,
Mhm.
but people have sexes. And that's really we can kill a lot of the confusion by just teaching people that.
Do you think people are just too comfortable and that's why we're getting all of these things? Like, is it just the human mind that's designed to look for problems? Well, I see two things happening. One, there are people that have really severe pre-existing problems, like
Mm.
trauma, psychological conditions, and we're not dealing with those, and we're putting a little gender band-aid on it instead, which doesn't fix anything. Or two,
No.
this is happening a lot with wealthy, well-to-do families, and there's not, food security issues. So let's just stir up some familial trouble here with some gender things.
It's an interesting one because have you heard of the concept of luxury beliefs? I can't remember who coined this term. It was um, I've heard this a few times. Somebody's going to leave in the comments who actually coined this, but the idea of luxury beliefs are, you're rich, what used to be the aristocracy, the aristocratic class, those people and the beliefs that they pull out in academia and they espouse these beliefs and all these things. Often they're like far left ideological beliefs and things that they believe would help out society, blah blah blah, but they don't actually practice them in their own lives. The whole idea of the family, the nuclear family is not something that should be celebrated. In fact, we should be dismantling it. A lot of these rich alumni that espouse these things are very, very close knit with their own families. They don't actually espouse these things. It's just this is for the classes, right? These are for the lower classes. This is what people see as luxury beliefs. And then there are the Kool-Aid drinkers, which are the ones that you always see on social media. These people that have five, six, seven, transgender kids, and it just happens to be that that you would never ever see that kind of thing logistically in any situation, but somehow or statistically, but somehow in their own families, everybody has some differing thing going on that just so happens to fit with their ideology. So there's it's a really interesting concept here. You have the luxury beliefs, and then you also have the Kool-Aid drinkers. So um, I like to poke at people who have these beliefs and see which camp they usually fit in.
I mean, I feel like it's just not a very good time for it. Like we actually have a basic needs crisis in Canada. We have wars popping up all over the place. Like arguing over it is about as useful as arguing over what happened on the Kardashians that day. You know, like let's figure
Mhm.
out our food and energy crisis. Let's all bind together and fight the government because they're trying to kill us all. Let's settle the Middle East down. And then if you guys want to go and play gender dress up, go for it. Go for it.
Well,
But
The Middle East are going to do what the Middle East are going to do, and you know, in my opinion, it's not really our business to say, you know, get involved in that. And you know, other people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. And you know, we can hash this out, but I don't think that while we have problems at home, we should be really overseas trying to fix the problems in other lands. They have their own issues. They have, you know, long-lasting conflicts. You know, not just the Middle East, Russia and Ukraine. That conflict has been going on since before the World Wars. Like this is not a new story. This is a long-going thing. Us butting our heads in isn't really helping or solving the conflict, and we don't really have the resources to be doing that. So I'm not so much of like an isolationist as just a non-interventionist. I do share the views of the founding fathers, you know, John Thomas Paine, Jefferson, Franklin. These guys, they were very much like, you know, we should be trading with everybody. We should be trading with everybody, and we should not get involved. We shouldn't get entangled in alliances and things overseas. This is how empires crumble, and we don't need to be doing that. We should just be focusing on making things good here. And trade is always a great way to foster that. You find peace with trade always. I mean, even even if you look back in time when in North America, when you know things were quite, there was a lot of real racism in North America years ago, especially you know the you know antebellum South. You hear about it a lot. But one thing that was never racist was the color green. I love that concept. Is that people would trade with each other despite their differences, despite not liking each other for stupid reasons, in my opinion. But they would still trade with each other. So this is something I would encourage, trading more. The
mm.
market is a great way to find peaceable solutions.
Have you seen the latest Jordan Peterson? He interviews the son of one of the founders of Hamas. It's going to blow your mind.
No, no, I didn't see that.
It's pretty wild. His story is incredible. So growing up in Palestine under Hamas, and it's a wild story. He talks about how poorly he was just treated by that culture and that ideology, and it ended up being the IDF ultimately that rescued him and saved him. And he was talking about the IDF. So Hamas steals every little bit of money from Palestine, sitting on billions of dollars. And then when buildings crumple and they don't have any resources to save people, they will call the IDF. They'll come over while being shot at the whole time. They'll be shot at the whole time, but they'll come in and they'll come and rescue people and get out. And it was just a very interesting perspective, like somebody that really boots on the ground there. But what he also said was, this was always going to happen. It doesn't matter if you get involved. And this is Iran sacrificing Palestine. And they don't care about the kids and they don't care about Palestine. And everything that they wanted is happening right now, including these protests that we're seeing in the West. He's like, everything is going just as planned. So protest, do whatever you want. He's like, this is exactly what they want to happen.
And some of the protests that we're seeing over here, there was one just in Vancouver just over the weekend, and they were chanting "Long live October 7th," and
Yes,
that's abhorrent to
disgusting.
hear that kind of rhetoric. Now, like I don't agree with either side when their fangs come out, you know,
Yep.
and
Same.
obviously after October 7th, a lot of people said some pretty awful things about Palestinians, and they, you know, and they called for some pretty awful things. I don't agree with that either. But again, it's like it's not our fight really at that point. And while we want to be trading partners with Israel, that I think that's something we should be moving towards. You know, we're they're a Western influence in the Middle East, and you know we should want to uh, be have an allegiance with them. I just don't
Mhm.
I don't know about like full on support for particular actions, and I kind of especially military actions that are divisive as well. It's a really difficult one to grasp and get into, especially when I don't know all the history, and I'm not a big um buff on any of this stuff. I really want to concentrate on Canada and Canadian issues. But when this stuff comes to our doors and these protesters are protesting in neighborhoods where people reside that are Canadians, I can't be for that. I can't be for that. People have a right to protest and say what they want to say about a particular group, a company, the government. But when you're going, you're protesting people for just being Jewish. That's outside of my purview of what I think is, for lack of a better word, kosher. I mean,
Yeah.
it's awful.
100%. No, I've taken the same stance. I have been listening a lot to people on different sides, and the more I learn, the more I learn that I don't know. And I don't think it's something
Mhm.
that we be an absolutist on. But yeah, like the exact.
Well, and here's another thing too, right? Here's another thing. Like a lot of people then take a very anti-Iranian approach. Like they hate Iranian people. I don't hate Iranian people. I think their government stinks. It's terrible, and it's been terrible for a long time. But go back to just the 1970s and look what Iran was. Well, a lot of Canadians they'll call themselves Persians. They don't want to associate with that regime, but those people are fantastic. They're Canadian now, and they came from there. It was very much a Western society. It was very much, a liberal democracy, for a lack of a better
Mhm.
term. And look what can happen. I don't want to see that happen in other countries, and we're not going to do that by meddling. That's what happened to Iran. There was meddling in the country, and it became extreme. Would it have become extreme without our meddling? I can't say that, but I would like to think that if we were just trading with them, perhaps they would have been a better off in that pursuit. And I think radicalization is a really terrible thing,
Mhm.
and it ruins nations. It absolutely ruins nations.
Well, I think Canada's making its own radicals right now too. So, like you said, we really can't be pointing fingers across the sea when we are watching just our own Canadians get eaten up from the inside. And, I've had to check myself and watch myself the last few years. I don't want to add to the division. I can't say I'm the peacemaker because I don't have a problem standing up for things that I think are important. But, I'm the person on Twitter that's trying not to name call, unless it's Trudeau's account. He's fair game. I'm not on there fighting with people. I'm not fighting in the comment section because what I see are people getting more and more radicalized, people on the left, and people don't understand like what could happen here. Yes, you have far left people that are actually promoting genuine communism and thinking it's a good idea because they've never read a history book before. But
Mhm.
you're also getting people that actually are turning into far right. Not the far right that means, oh, you have a family and you believe in biology and maybe go to church, you must be a crazy fascist. Not that kind of fascist. I mean, people that are actually far right. And we're seeing it go in both directions right now because people can't talk to one another.
Well, it's fomenting. There's this whole concept of if you don't allow for communication, some of these bad ideas, the characters in the bad and that harbor bad ideas, they'll go underground and then they recruit, and then in their little echo chamber, they'll foment their anger. And a lot of people have genuine anger, real things to be angry about. People who served in the military and got treated terribly when they were there and when they came back. people who went through the pandemic and saw all of this stuff happen to their friends and their family, their loved ones, the forcing of people to do a medical procedure. It's egregious. And then the gaslighting afterwards to tell us that, well, we never forced anybody to do this. These are the actual words from Justin Trudeau. While we never forced anybody, we gave all the right incentives for people to do the right thing. That's what he called that when he said, if you don't take a vaccine, you can't get on a plane, you can't get on a train, you can't visit people in the hospital. This is
Yeah.
terrible. It's terrible. And there's genuine reasons why these people are angry. But I have a serious fear of what can happen when we don't allow speech to and the challenging of ideas to occur, and we force people underground. It creates really, really bad scenarios, and we're watching this happen in Canada. And of course Trudeau loves it because he can use these people as fodder, as an example to paint his political opposition, all of them, as right. And we've been watching this happen recently. I I got the brunt of it. I got the brunt of it over the weekend on Twitter, because I called some people out for some of the stuff that they've actually been saying. Now, Trudeau came out and he wants to tie everybody to this group that it was a joke at first, called Diagolon. They have a flag that's supposed to represent the diagonal nation from Alaska to Florida, and it was all started as a joke, and it was a funny joke at first because what it did was it triggered all these people to think that this was a radical group, which it wasn't. To begin with, it wasn't. And unfortunately, when those people were put into a scenario where they're just in their tiny group and they believe the world's out to get them, they start to foment all these ideas that people think that the world's out to get them, you know? And
Well, the world has
it really,
gotten them. The world threw
the
them in
world.
prison, froze their bank accounts. So, yeah, you can see how that can actually turn someone.
Well, most interesting dynamic about this though is that the media has been crying wolf for so long. It really is the story of the boy who cried wolf, where, you know, this they'll say everybody is a racist, everybody's a misogynist, everybody's a homophobe, the whole basket of deplorables, as Hillary Clinton put it years ago. But then when something does come up that is very unsavory, then when they hurl these insults again at people, it doesn't stick. And people go, yeah, I'll come to their defense over this, and no problem, I'll defend them over this. And my fear moving forward, and Trudeau's camp has already started on this campaign, is to pull clips from the podcasts that these guys have, and some of the awful things that they've said, and paint anybody who's come to their aid with those words that they've said. And I'm talking like not like just off-color jokes, even though there's a lot of that. Talking about conspiracies that the Jews are trying to take over the world, a rehashing of the protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is a propaganda piece that helped fuel some serious world conflicts, including the ones that came out of Weimar Germany in the 1940s. A lot of conflicts came from these things, but then also talking about how Canada should be some white ethnic state, and that even families that have been here for generations should be somehow deported. I don't know where to, but these are the ideas that are coming out. And of course, when you show it off and you show off what they're saying, they'll say, well, are you for mass immigration? To obfuscate what the views are, or say like, it's just a joke, bro. And it's like, well, no, I've watched what you guys have been talking about, and it's really gross. And there's a lot of awful things that are going to be used as fodder against conservatives, against people who are unknowingly saying, "Oh, yeah, they're just jokesters," right?
Right. And this is the problem with tribalism that we're in right now, where people pick their team, their side, no matter what. So if you believe in conservative values and freedom and the things that we're fighting for, when people start behaving like that, we want to jump on them. We want to hold them accountable and say, like, that, you do not represent us. And on the flip side, I expect every single person that is still clinging to liberalism right now, and I say that as somebody that used to vote that way. I don't identify as my political stance, but like, you get it. I had to switch parties. The people that are still in there clinging to liberalism, you should be the one that is calling out the liberals more than anyone, because nothing that they're doing actually represents liberal values.
Well, to them, it's just a political game. And same to these radical groups. It's just a political game. In fact, they don't want conservatives to win. This particular group, and they were just bragging about it today on Twitter, how the liberals are tying them to Pierre Poilievre. They hate Pierre Poilievre. They don't want him to get voted in. They want the liberals to get voted in again so that Canada will get worse. Because they think that, I'm not kidding. There's the left, the very far left and the very far right are really interesting groups, because both of them want society to be torn down so that they can build it in the ashes, build it up from the ashes in their own image. And I don't espouse to that. I really won't. I think there's a political solution. We can't have we don't want to have a revolution, because we're
Should
not
we
going to
make our
get.
own? Should we make our own country, Clyde? You and me right now, our own country, our own flag. We're gonna have a moose as a mascot, and it's gonna be moderate, everyday Canadians versus everybody else.
We don't need a new flag. There's one. It's got two red bars and a maple leaf in the middle of it. And most people are very moderate. In fact, most people, I really want to emphasize that. Most people are very moderate. It's the extreme groups that are the loudest out of everybody. And this is why I'm coming out to be loud, because I'm not extreme. In fact, I don't have very extreme views in for a lot of things. And this is what a lot of these groups have a problem with me, is that, Clyde, you have a big audience and you're not extreme enough. We want you to be more extreme. I've been the biggest insult I got hurled at me this week was that I'm Tim Pool of Canada. I'm like, that's not an insult. I mean, Tim Pool's a fantastic podcaster and very successful. I don't think that's an insult, but hey, whatever floats your boat there, the floaty boats, right? So it's crazy to me. I think most Canadians are moderate in on a lot of fronts. When they hear stuff that, like, when they hear the radical views on either side, they just don't know what to do. They think, and each side is trying to label each side with the radicals of each element. It just so happens that Trudeau, what he's been doing, has been fueled by the radical element. I rather not have a prime minister from the conservative side be of a radical ideological bend. I'd rather have a prime minister who's thoughtful and will listen to his constituents and represent the Canadians, right? That voted him in. I think that, and the ones who didn't vote him in, for that matter. There's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily agree with me. What I think
Yeah.
my job is to get out there and bring my ideas to a bigger audience. Bring my ideas to people who are sitting on the fence. Bring my ideas to people who are far on the left even, and see if
Mhm.
it'll stick. See if people will actually like these ideas, maybe come on over. That's
Mhm.
that's the thing. You said you used to vote liberal.
Mhm.
Well, now you're not. Well, why was that? It's because things got crazy, and then you start looking around and you go, hey, what are some good ideas? Are there people with good ideas out there? Shop around. It's the marketplace of ideas for a reason. Go shopping.
Know who would have been amazing is Leslyn Lewis. She didn't quite have the flair that PP had, but her background, she is moderate. She her first few degrees were in women's studies and environmentalism, and then she went
Mhm.
into law, and then she went into business. She is a conservative Christian who spent a good chunk of her life helping the gay community escape from other countries where they were persecuted. Like, she's this amazing blend of left and right. I think she could have been the bridge.
Well, I hopefully Pierre Poilievre considers that when he puts together a cabinet. I think she should have she was on my vote. I enrolled in the Conservative Party to elect the I also happen to think Roman Baber is fantastic. He's a very principled guy. He knows his stuff, and this is why he's in there. I hope they get put on the bench in good positions because we need a good team. This is the thing. Canada, as much as I disagree with the way the political system works, uh, because there's too much power for even the Westminster parliamentary system, we've put too much power in the executive branch in the prime minister's office. That needs to go. But in the meantime, we need to have a good team there. We really do need to have a good team in the next government, which who knows when we're going to get it. I happen to think that Trudeau is not going to risk losing power until 2025 when he knows he's going to lose it completely. So they're going to hang on to that. Jagmeet Singh is going to enable that for all of that time. But yeah, we need to get better people into these positions. And I think the best way to do it is get engaged in the political system. And I'm not saying just get engaged with the Conservatives. Get engaged with the NDP. If your riding always votes NDP, get engaged with the NDP. And when whoever is in there, it's their turn to leave, get somebody in that's better, that's not so radical like Jagmeet Singh. And wanting to go, I don't even believe he believes his own crap. To be honest, I don't believe that he believes
His
his own
little Louis
crap.
Vuitton bag. He's talking about
Yeah,
being with the people.
yeah. Well, there's that. I mean, just appearances alone are awful. But like, no. So he has this position that he's going to go after grocery stores because of inflation, calling it greedflation. That it really is. It's a stupid, like it's like a grade schooler read the Marxist Communist Manifesto and went, oh, okay, I'm gonna pick a point. Grocery store CEOs, I'm going after them. They're greedy. That's why prices are up. Like, no, but I don't even know why even the pundits on CBC haven't even brought this up. If you bring 1 million new people into a country within a year, the grocery stores will make more money.
Mhm.
It's just that simple. More food will leave the shelves of grocery
Mhm.
stores if there's 1 million more people to shop at them. Like that's crazy that
Or
nobody's even considered that fact.
make gas more expensive. Everything gets more expensive. Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. The carbon tax is making food more expensive because the farmers have to pay this tax. Yeah, I've heard arguments that well, on marked diesel that goes into the tractors, it doesn't. What about the propane that they have to use for the grain silos to heat the barns where the animals are in? There's no exemption on any of that stuff. They're paying it. The trucks that go on the highways that deliver the food, they're not exempt from any of this stuff. They're paying this tax. It's not coming out of their pocket. They're not
no.
going, oh, out of the kindness of my heart, I'm going to take this and just, no, that's not happening. I don't know why truck drivers sound like Jordan Peterson all of a sudden, but like, this is not something that they're going to absorb. It is not something they're going to absorb. They're going to pass it on to the consumer. This is an economic law that everybody, and it doesn't matter what school of economics you went to, you should understand this. And it gets passed on to the consumer. It's counted as inflationary. But then there's the biggest inflationary problem, and that's the actual inflation. Actual inflation by economic standards is an increase in the monetary supply. When they make more money and put it into the economy, that is inflation. The CPI, the consumer price index, all these tools that they use to calculate that, this is just the effects of inflation. So we're feeling the effects of what they're doing by spending crazy amounts of money right out of Ottawa. Are they spending money that they've pulled in with tax dollars? No, they're borrowing this money. They're printing it. They're issuing. The government of Canada says we don't print money. No, you issue new currency digitally. We know this. It's not the actual printer doesn't go burr. That's not the real world anymore. They issue new digital currencies and it goes out as lines of credit and it dilutes the spending power of every single dollar that's out there. It's theft. It's a tax that people don't even consider when they're calculating the taxes that they pay. It's crazy and it's criminal.
You must be pretty grateful to have a job like you do. Like watching this money thing play out, in the 1950s, we barely paid any taxes. And that is getting worse and worse. Like, do you think that we could head into a Venezuelan style collapse when the Canadian dollar just turns into money, monopoly money?
Absolutely. So like Venezuela, people don't realize that the biggest disaster that Venezuela had was the fact that everyone became afraid that was investing in Venezuela. It's called regime uncertainty. It's a coined term from the Mises school of thought. The Mises Ludwig von Mises was the founder of the Austrian School of Economics, and it's this idea of regime uncertainty when everyone is afraid to put money into an economy for good reasons. Good reasons. In Venezuela, of course, they were terrified because Hugo Chavez, as the economy started to collapse, he just started nationalizing everything more and more. He doubled down on his rhetoric. He doubled down on his political stance, as all good communists do. No socialist nation ever collapsed because of their disjointed beliefs in socialism. They've all collapsed because of their pure loyalty to the tenets of socialism. This is what people don't understand, and this is what socialism or socialists don't want to admit. Oh, I'm smarter, we'll do it better, right? It's always the case. No, you chase out entrepreneurs. You chase out people within the country that want to do things. There's a massive brain drain because of that. You chase out investors that invest in infrastructure. You get government programs that will do everything at a fraction of the efficiency of the private sector, and it just destroys the economy. So yeah, I could see that happening. I mean, look at the pipeline, the Keystone pipeline that Trudeau came in and canceled right away. That was going to cost $4 billion. People expected it to cost maybe around $7 billion when all was said and done. The government says it's canceled. Oh, never mind, we'll do it. What did it cost? Like $37 billion at the end of the day? Crazy. We should be leaving things to entrepreneurs coming in and building industry here, not buying entire industries like the auto sector, all of this stuff. Motor City, Detroit, Windsor, it wasn't built from government measures. It was built from auto manufacturers coming up from the ground up, because the regulatory situation was just good enough that they were able to do it, right? There wasn't a lot of overhead. There wasn't all this red tape that people have when they go in. No, it wasn't the government coming in with $13 billion to an already wealthy company to entice them to build a battery plant. This is not the right way for Canada to get out of this trouble. This is digging us deeper into a hole.
Bingo. Well, and anytime it goes federal, it seems to just turn everything to shit. Like leave it, like you said, leave it to the entrepreneurs, leave it to the municipalities, leave it to the provinces. So like the school lunch program that everyone's fighting about. Oh, don't you think kids deserve lunch at schools? Yeah, of course I do. That's why in my community and pretty much everyone that I know of, they already have that because the communities see the need and the communities take that up. So what happens when the federal government gets involved? Well, it's so far removed. Now you have 70% of that cost going to administration. It's not going to the kids. And it's just another thing that they can pat themselves on the back for and virtue signal when the munis were already doing it, or they can request help from the provinces. But we certainly don't need the federal government to grow itself by 300% every quarter and pretend like they're actually helping out.
Have they served a lunch yet? Have they served a single lunch?
Yeah,
Like it cost billions of dollars so far. Has it served a single lunch?
that's expensive grilled cheese right there.
It is. It is. I don't know if it's billions, millions, like lots of millions. But yeah, no, this is the nature of bureaucracy. You get more government employees, overpaid, entitled government employees that
Yes.
become unionized. And isn't it a crazy time that union government employees make more money on average than their counterparts that do in the private sector? How is that even possible?
There's some
How is that
people
even
here in
possible?
social services making like $350,000 a year, and our town is flooded with money with multiple organizations that do the exact same thing. I remember going to a city hall meeting and the mayor saying, I don't know what three-quarters of these organizations even do, and our town is just wrought with problems because they're disorganized, they're all bureaucrats, they don't work together, and they're all getting just heaps of money, but there's no accountability either.
That's it. And it's all going on the credit card. It's all going on the government credit card. We don't have the money to pay for any of this stuff. And that's the thing, like people on the left and they're buying into what the liberals are saying for their talking points. The government the conservatives want to come in and cut everything and you're not gonna get your benefits. No, the thing is if the liberals stay in, if these radicals on the left and the right that want Trudeau to be in get their way and the government stays in, everything's going to get cut eventually because there won't be any money.
Yes.
There won't be any money to pay for any of this stuff. Not just paying for all the social services that they say are great and go out to people, but all the bureaucrats, they're all going to lose their jobs. Everyone's going to be laid off. There is going to be no money to go around. And
Yep.
worse, I mean, like nobody will lend Canada any money to get us out of our troubles. And then we're in a real sore spot because then we're rife for some pretty nasty people from places like China coming in and buying up a lot of our utilities. Is that the route we want to go down, or do you think maybe we should get into a little bit more fiscal conservative uh, behavior in government?
Yeah, a little facts and reason would be just great right about now.
Common sense. That's what Pierre Poilievre's calling it. I love it. I love it because it's one of my favorite books. Thomas Paine wrote the book Common Sense. I recommend everybody go out and read it. It was a book that he wrote when he was, coming up with these ideas for a new nation, a new system of governance, like how it would work. Common Sense was one of the books. And one of the things that I really appreciate as well is one of the books he goes over the book of Judges out of the Bible, and he talks about how the Jewish people at one point they lived with they shed off the tyranny that was on them, and so they said, God, give us a king, and God said, no, I'm not going to give you a king. You're going to be your own arbiters in this life, and you're going to find a way to govern yourselves and see over that, and lays it out. He lays out how things worked in the book of Judges, and it was a framework for bringing in the judiciary system that we're all familiar with now today. It's fantastic. It's great. It's great read. I think everyone should get on board with that because there were some brilliant minds in framing the Western society, not just the United States, but way things have adapted in Canada. Some brilliant minds that have come before us. There's no need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We should really fight for some of these freedoms that we have now.
Well, this has come just so perfect, full circle, because we kind of started off talking about the social justice movement and victim culture, and what we're circling back to now is agency, which is one of my favorite books, actually, Agency. It's saying the story that we can just give and give and give in terms of like social support programs, and people will change their lives and all the problems will go away is not true. We create victims, we drain our resources. But the other story of just, well, this hard thing happened, you pull up your bootstraps and like get over it, that doesn't always happen either. And what agency
Mm.
teaches is we bring in support to help people when they are down. But if the support at some stage doesn't say, pull up your bootstraps now and let's get going, then that person will never heal. The country will never get better. So it's, yes, social support programs, but we all need, no matter who you are, no matter what's happened to you, we all need to take a level of personal responsibility. And that's the only thing, that's the only way that anything changes. Communities change, countries change. So this event that you and I are going to be at, I feel like this is it. I haven't seen anything like this in a while. It feels like boots on the ground. It
Hmm.
feels like people talking about solutions, about building bridges. It's not a conservative event, it's nonpartisan, but there will be a lot of conservative speakers, really just because we haven't found those people on the left that are moderate, that are willing to talk to us right now. We can't get those folks out. We're trying. If you're out there, you are welcome to come and create some solutions for Canada.
Absolutely. Well, maybe maybe people like you are those people. You said you used to vote, you vote liberal, you know, before, and now you don't, and maybe that's it. Maybe we
I'm the
have
left.
found that. I don't
I'll
know.
be the
So
left.
well, that's the thing. Like, I think there's a lot of people that would join on in an event like this, but they're afraid of the radicals from their own side.
Mhm.
And this is an unfortunate part of the whole situation, the whole scenario, and what cancel culture really is people on the left don't always agree with all the craziness, but as soon as they step outside of what is acceptable within the leftist group, they get hammered on. And then they end up over on our side. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, we still don't have any people on the left to talk to, because that's the whole thing. I mean, look at people like, for example, it is a great example. Brett Weinstein and his lovely wife Heather. Uh, they were for their whole life on the left. And I don't even think they consider themselves on the right even today. But all the left think they're far right, you know, with their opinions.
Yeah.
And that's the way things are. They're fantastic. And you know what? I don't think all the people on the right agree with everything they have to say, but they're such great contributors to the conversation. And this is what I think is important, is to just to bring as many people who are willing to speak out and bring them to these events, even if they have awful things to say, bring them out, and then we can show off that how awful the things they have to say are.
Yeah,
I mean,
bring it out.
that's
Let's
an
hear what
awful
you have to
thing.
say.
Yeah,
Well, and the biggest solution that you've hit on a few times is that we need to be able to have conversations. And the biggest threat that we're facing in Canada is censorship. The people that are controlling our media are out of integrity, and they are blocking or trying to block our access to these different voices. So, this is really what this event is about: combating censorship and disinformation, and trying to build bridges and open up conversations again so that we can actually talk and maybe make some solutions here.
absolutely. Absolutely. This is it's an honor for me to be invited to such an event. Really, it is. I mean, I didn't see, like, 2 years ago when I started doing this, I was just a pulling wrenches, just a guy pulling wrenches. I didn't think I'd be showing up with such amazing company, including yourself, like all these brilliant minds that are coming out to discuss these ideas. So, wow, it's just really flattering. It's really flattering. It's very flattering that you had me on your podcast to talk about all of this.
Hey, this is good times. One last question. What are you going to speak about? Have you planned that out? What are you going to talk about at the Reclaiming Canada conference?
Well, I want to talk about the trades, because I'm probably going to be the only tradesman in the whole group of people. I do want to talk about disinformation, so I'll be talking about that. This is what the main theme of the event is. Of course, that's what I cover on my channel. I talk about how the media is often lying to you, and what other people's real opinions are, including my own. So I'll talk about that, but I really want to talk about the trades. I think it's a very important thing for people to look at the trades as something that's not a dirty line of work anymore, or goobers or dummies do this kind of thing. No, it's actually quite intelligible work. It's intelligent people that do the jobs, whether you're a mechanic, carpenter, a fabricator, any of these jobs that are out there. It's quite rewarding work as well for people that are looking into, and it pays well as well. So this will be an opportunity for me to bring this up, because Canada moving forward, again, with like the housing crisis that we have right now, do you know that while the Liberals are out there promising a few million houses a year, we only have the capability at best of building 225,000 across the country, because we just don't have the laborers for it. We don't have the tradesmen to do it. And we're not making new tradesmen. We're expecting to have less in the next decade. So it's crazy, the situation we're in. And this is why I really want to focus on this for the conversation. And then some other topics that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the ecological movement, I've been calling it. And I call it that because emphasis on the logical part of the whole thing, because people have been so environmental in that regard, that I would like to see more people moving towards logical solutions to fixing environmental issues that we do have, that are real problems, not chicken little sky is falling problems, that we can actually deal with. And I hope to have some other really good conversations. I know there's going to be panels talking about Soji. I'm sure I'll be part of some of that, and a lot of the things that are happening here in Canada. I'm really looking forward to it.
I love it. That's some real, like, just practical solutions. I'll leave you with one quick story here. My daughter just started karate and she's like obsessed. She's 11. And I went to go pick her up the other day, and they're all listening really intently to their sensei. They super respect him. And I'm listening to him give this speech, and he says, getting your black belt is going to be the most important thing you do. That and your high school GED. Then you can go do whatever. You can go be a plumber, you can go be a lawyer, but first you should become a plumber, so that when you are over dealing with other people's problems, you can just go back to plumbing. So he's praising the trades here too.
I'm not kidding. That is probably the best advice out there. If you want to go to school and get your underwater basket weaving or your feminist degree, get a trade first. Get a trade first, because when that doesn't pay, you won't be going to the government asking for your student loans to be forgiven by the taxpayer. You'll be able to pay them off yourself.
Clyde, where can people find you?
Oh, go to Clyde Do Something on YouTube. You'll find me there. I'm Clyde Do Something without the G on Twitter or X or whatever the kids are calling it these days. Instagram, I put shorts up there as well. But the mainstay is on YouTube, so go check it out.
I love it. We'll have to bring you back for part 2, and I look forward to seeing you in June.
Likewise. So why am I coming to this event? I'm actually really excited about this event. I'm privileged enough to be invited out to speak for such a great audience of people that are excited about pushing things forward in Canada. I have an interesting set of perspectives, perhaps. I'm a tradesman, which I would love to come and talk about the importance of trades growing in Canada. We are not going to be building millions of homes in the next decade without millions, well, at least hundreds of thousands of new trades workers in our industry. And that's not what we've been focusing on. All kinds of other things that we're going to be talking about at this event. A lot of people are concerned about, parental rights. As a parent myself, I'm concerned. We're going to be discussing these topics and many more, lots of great names that are going to be coming to this event. I hope that you guys can all make it. This is going to be one to write about. I'm not going to lie about that. Let me tell you, looking forward to it. Hope to see you all there. Link, we're going to get links to you on where you can go. You can go to weunify.ca. The link will be included here. Go check it out, get your tickets, and we'll see you there.
It's going to be historic.